Hi, in this session we will learn about what are test classes, what ways to write your test classes, ways to run your test classes, what are the best practices of your test classes. Like this type of scenario we will cover in this session. Okay, so question number one is ways to write your test classes. There are three ways to write your test classes. First one is using standard navigation, second one is using developer console, and last one is using Eclipse IDE. For using standard navigation, click on Setup, go to Build, click on Developer, click Apex class, New button, write code, and save your code. And using Developer Console, click on Developer Console, click on Setup, go to Developer Console. A console will be open. Click on File, click on New, click on Apex, click and write your code. These are the steps while ways to write your Apex class. How ways to run your test classes. Okay, there are three ways like standard navigation, developer console, and only two ways. Okay, so using standard navigation, so go to setup, go to build menu, left panel, click on develop and expand it, click on Apex classes link, select the Apex test class and run your test classes. Okay, from using developer console, go to your name, click on developer console link, go to file menu, click on new menu item, click on Apex class from some menu, enter the Apex class test class name in the text box and provided by the dialog box. Okay, write the test code and save the code by using Ctrl S and click the run button test. Okay, so what are the best practices for test class? Before knowing how to write the test class in Apex Salesforce, we should know why should we write test class. Okay, we write test class in Apex Salesforce for unit testing. Okay, keep point in your mind. We will write test class in Apex Salesforce for unit testing. We get to find the bugs in our code and fix it to give better output. Testing gives the code coverage. Okay. After developing an Apex class or Apex trigger, we should write the unit test class and ensure that we are able to execute at least 75% of the lines of code. If you're not moving the code from sandbox to sandbox, then code coverage is not required. Suppose you are trying to moving the code from sandbox to sandbox, then code coverage is not required. You can directly transfer the code from sandbox to the. If you are moving the code from sandbox to production, at least you have to write 75% of code coverage is required. If the code coverage is less than 75%, that your deployment will be failed. Okay, you have to start your test class with @is test annotation. Then Salesforce will consider this class as a test class. Keep your class as a private, and the best practice is to name your test class as your original class or trigger name plus test. Write this. Suppose your trigger name is duplicate error, then your test class name is duplicate error test. Okay, so what are the syntax is ways what are the syntax of writing the test class is is test, second is private class my test class, and third is is test static void my test one, and implement that logic, so implement that code. And sixth one is static test my test void my test 2, and this one, and this will be continued. Okay, note, test class can be either public or private. Okay, is test annotation with test method is equivalent to test method keyword. Test method should static and no void return type. test class and method default access is private no matter to add access specifier. You can't send email from test method. @test setup to create test record once in a method and use in every test method in the test class. Maximum number of test class run per 24 hours of period is not greater than 500. Okay, we should not focus on the percentage of code coverage. We should make sure that every use case should covered, including positive, negative, bulk and single record. Calls to system.debug are not counted as a part of Apex code coverage. Okay, test method and test classes are not counted as a part of your code limit. Okay, so Apex states will not commit changes to the database, but SQL queries will find records created during the test, perform callout to external web services, send outbound email, return result from social searches. Question number 5 is test requirements in production. First one is 75% of our Apex statements must be executed. Strive for 100% code coverage. All Apex triggers must be called. All Apex tests must execute without throwing any uncaught exception or exiting governors. Step 1. Positive path. Verify that when passed valid inputs called code completes without throwing an exception. Step 2. End state. Verify data. Define outcome with assertions like system.assert. System.assert equals system.assert not equals. And step 3 is negative path. Verify then that when passed invalid input exceptions are properly handled. Step 4 governors. Verify the code is bulk ready. Pass up to 200 records. Trade off between test performance and effectiveness. Okay guys, so what is the purpose of see all data? By default, test class cannot recognize the existing data in the database. If you mention @stage see all data is equal to true in your test class, then test class can recognize the existing data in the database. So if possible, don't use see all data is equal to true. Create your own test data. Okay, what is the purpose of test.start test and test.stop test? Start test and stop test are standard test methods which are available for test classes. Test.start test and test.stop test maintains fresh set of governor limits. These methods help you to reset your governor limits. Okay. Per test method, we can use test.start test and test.stop test only for one time. To execute asynchronous methods synchronously, we can call those methods from inside of test.started and test.stopTest. Once your test code runs between test.startTest and test.stopTest, you must use assert statements to test whether your actual code is executing correctly and giving the result as much you expected. Okay, so what is the purpose of system.run as? By default, test class runs in a system mode. If you want to execute a piece of code in a certain user context, then we can use system.run as user interface instance. Okay, sorry, user instance. To avoid mixed TML operation error, we can include TML statement inside of system.run as. System.run as dot still the error persists, keep TML statement inside the test.startAt and test.stopTest. Use system.run as method to enforce OWD, or that is organization wide default, and profile related testings. Okay, this is very important from security point of view. So what are the assert statement? To compare the actual value and expected value, we use assert statements. Types of assert statements: system dot asserts equal value 1 comma value 2, and if both value 1 and value 2 are same, then your test class run successfully, otherwise your test class would be failed. System dot asserts not equal to value 1 comma value 2. If both value 1 and value 2 are not same, then test class runs successfully, otherwise test class will fail. System dot assert equal value 1 greater than value 2. If the condition satisfied, then test class runs successfully, otherwise test class will fail. What is the purpose of @ test visible? Private variables and methods in Apex class we can include @test visible, so that even though variable is private, we can access from the test class. So thank you guys, this is all about your test class in Salesforce. Okay, yeah, thank you, bye.